So, welcome everyone for today's discussion. The topic of the today's discussion is securing workloads in Microsoft Azure. And as you people already know me, I am Abhishek Shukla and senior architect. And so let's start today's session and we will discuss how we can secure our workload onto the Azure. Before moving forward, let's have a quick discussion of this well architected framework. So, whether it's Azure or AWS or any other cloud vendor provider, they have a well architected framework, and the five pillars of this well architected framework is like operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, and cost optimization. And why we have security, what we mean by security. So security means like it's all about protecting the data that an organization either stores or process or use or transmit by leveraging the any cloud provider. But why security matters? According to the Gartner has forecasted that worldwide security and risk management spending will exceed $150 billion in 2021, and this is their recent report published in May 21. And here they have forecasted that the expense onto the security will grow by 12.4% in comparison to 6.1% of last year of 2020. And when we says that we have to expend something on the security, so there are various segments in security where you have to spend the money. So they may be like application security, data security, identity and access management, your infrastructure protections like network security and its equipment, various other security aspects of your infrastructure or your application. When we says that we have to look for the various areas for security, so these are some common areas like identity management. You have to consider that how you will manage and protect the identity of your users, groups and devices. When it comes to infrastructure protection, you mean you have to control the access of the Azure resources that you are deploying. You are also deploying your applications to Microsoft Azure. So for application security, you need to think about it, the best practices, so that you can secure your applications, like putting the SSL, putting the CSRF and XSS attacks, preventing SQL injections, using data encryption and secure data transmit. When it comes to data sovereignty and encryption, so you have to make sure that your data remains into the correct geo region wherever you are using. So if I will talk about GDPR, it says that no data can put outside of the European Union region. So you have to take care that wherever you are storing your data and you have any such compliance, then your data must be there into the respective geolocation. Now, security is a very big and vast area, but in today's session, we will more focused on how we can secure our infrastructure workload. We will not talk about how we can secure our data or data stores, say SQL database, storage or data lakes, etc. So, what we mean by workload in cloud? Whenever we say that we have certain workload in cloud, it means we are talking about the various applications, services, or or data where we are leveraging cloud to uh, to either execute it, either store it. And as far as the example concerns, it may be the virtual machines, the database, running containers. You can say like if you are doing big data, so your Hadoop nodes, etc. Mainly workloads is divided into two parts. They may be related to the infrastructure workload or they may be related to IaaS and PaaS when it comes to data workload. Sometimes data workload comes under the category of IaaS also, but most of the time they comes under the category of platform as a service. We have the another third category that is software as a service, but there we have very limited scope because everything is managed by the vendor itself. So when we say that we are working with infrastructure workload, it means we are talking about mostly the virtual machines. We are talking about if we are running SQL Server in virtual machines, or we are running our own container orchestration by leveraging the virtual machines. When it comes to data workload, it may be anything from storage to SQL database to data lakes. and sometimes your web apps also, because it comes under the category of the PaaS. And running a web application also get count as a workload in Microsoft Azure. Whenever we are using any cloud vendor, so especially for Azure, they have a shared responsibility model, and this shared responsibility model tells us that who will be responsible for what in a specific cloud service model. So we all know that cloud service models comes under the three category. They are like software as a service, they have platform as a service, they have infrastructure as a service, and generally at on-premise that is not related to cloud. And if you will see, in terms of information and data protection, in the category of SaaS, everything is controlled by vendor. When it comes to platform, everything is controlled by, sorry, everything is controlled by the customer itself. When it comes to platform as a service, everything will be controlled and maintained by customer itself, and as well as in terms of IS also. But if you will go down to this diagram, you can see when it comes to physical data center, when we say physical data center, it means where your racks, where your hard drives, your virtual machines, everything is placed. In category of software as a service, platform as a service, or IS as a service, everything is managed by your vendor, or in case of Microsoft Azure, all these things will be managed by Microsoft. From bottom to top, if you will go to the operating system capabilities, like, so here in this says like, in SaaS and PaaS, everything will be managed by Microsoft. But when it comes to IS, the operating system security, it will be managed by customer. Means customer will also be responsible for security. Why customer will be responsible for security? So like some endpoint installation, keeping the various endpoint protection mechanism up to date, all these are the responsibility of the customer. Being a vendor, Microsoft can only suggest you that okay, you are lacking somewhere into your infrastructure and you need to take care of that. And we have various mechanism uh, to uh, to audit or to have control on such things. If you will see the network controls, so in platform as a service, network responsibility to maintain the security is divided between the vendor and the customer both. It means vendor can give you, okay, you can use this particular infrastructure to have your networking resource, but you are responsible to follow the best practices so that you can keep your network secure also. It's completely laid onto the customer side. If you will go to the applications, then you can see that in platform as a service, it is responsibility of both. But when it comes to infrastructure as secure, infrastructure as a service, it is completely laid onto the customer side, because you have a virtual machine, you are creating a application, and you are putting a application or running into it. So it's the application which is developed by you, then you have to make sure that application should be secure, and you have to take necessary measurements so that you can keep your application secure. For an example, you are executing a workload, and that workload consists of a web application and a database. Now, being a vendor, your cloud provider says okay, you can secure your data by using firewall, you can keep the encryption, everything. And it says you can deploy your application in a secure way, right? Everything is done from the vendor side, everything is okay. What about the mechanism of your application? If your application is exposing the data, right, someone who can log in, or either by logged in or without having the logged in, if they can see the entire data, then it's no means that how you have secured your data stored at backend. It's your responsibility that you should design your application that should be secured enough. So we have a term that is called defense in depth. right? So defense in depth comes from a military word, and it talks about the layered security, and it says that you should keep your entire workload secure at each at every layer. So if we will go to the Microsoft offering for these layers, we can see that when it comes to identity and access management, we have privileged identity management, and as well as we have conditional access. You can control the access of your infrastructure by providing conditional access, as well as you can also deploy privileged identity management. When it comes to security of your perimeter, it means you can say the network where all your resources have been deployed. We have distributed denial of service protection. We have Azure firewall. You can leverage these two services to secure your parameter or secure your access to your networks. When it comes to securing your network, we have network security group, we have application security group, as well as you can do a micro level segmentation of your network. So this is nothing but an architecture that instead of having a bigger network, you should uh, partition your network into smaller networks, so that you can have a granular level control on that whatever you are going to deploy into those networks. When it comes to compute security, like compute means your virtual machines, anything which is using the computing power. It may be a virtual machine, it may be a Azure web app, it may be a Azure functions, it may be your batch account, etc. But here we are talking about especially the virtual machines as well as the containers. So we have virtual machines and the container security, as well as we also have the guidelines where you can secure your host means your virtual machines. When it comes to application and the data security, right? So for data we have advanced data security, like restricting from the firewall, exposing it by using private links, exposing and restricting it by, or and securing it by doing a encryption for data at rest. Okay, so before going forward, let me create a virtual machine. I am assuming that most of the people is familiar that how we have to create a virtual machine. But whenever you have to create a virtual machine, what you have to do is a virtual machine cannot create without having a VNet, right? And within that VNet, so as we talk about micro segmentation strategy, either you can create a big subnet into your VNet, or you can have the smaller subnets in your VNet, right? And your workload, say virtual machines, will be created in these subnets. When you create a virtual machine, now it's up to you. Would you like to allow this access to this virtual machine from the outside world, right? And when you said you are willing to allow this virtual machine from the outside world, here uh, the responsibility comes towards you. Microsoft offers that how you can open this connectivity and how you can restrict them, right? So whenever you used to create this virtual machine and opens the connectivity, either you can follow the network security group NSG, right? This NSG can be either applied to this the VNet labels, or you can apply this NSG to this virtual machine label. A- Deploying NSG is a way so that you can secure your access to your virtual machines from the outside world, right? But sometimes you will find that NSG has some restrictions. Then we have some further options. We have Azure Firewall also. By using the Azure Firewall, you can do a restrictive access for your workload and your virtual machines. By using the NSG, sometimes some restrictions cannot be applied. But Firewall has a vast area where you can do a granular level security control for your workloads. Then it comes to the access, for an example, like a RDP access, right? So RDP access can also be controlled by using this NSG, but being the architect of your infrastructure, this is not the just one way. We may have various other ways to do a secure deployment or a secure workload establishment into the cloud. So coming slides we will see all these things. So before that, let me first create a virtual machine, and for that I need to go to this portal. So let Okay, so I have this Azure portal. For this demonstration purpose, I have already created the number of resources so that I can save time. But no worries. I will also let you know that how we can create the resources over to this cloud. By using already pre-created resources, this will save my time. So that's okay. So let me go to So you just need to go and select the virtual machine, and you have to hit create. So you can see that every time whenever you are going to create a virtual machine, you need to select a resource group. That is quite okay. Let me create a demo VM. When I'm going to create a demo VM, for the security options, you can see that either I can use a user ID password, that's normal and we should use it. And for your security purpose, here you have to define the inbound port rules. Like Microsoft is giving you the flexibility that, okay, yes, infrastructure can be created onto Microsoft Azure, but security lies on you. You have to make sure that which port you would like to open, and you have to specify the port. In a drop down you can see that you can have these four ports need to be open. So if you want to use this virtual machine to host any IaaS based application on port 80, or if you are willing to use SSL, then port 443, and if you would like to do for an RDP, you have to open the port 3389. Now when we are opening the port 3389, it means we are inviting someone that yes, they can enter into our system. Once our user ID password has been compromised, then anyone can easily do a RDP in our system. Onto the networking part, you see that, as I said, virtual machine cannot be deployed without having a VNet. So I already have a VNet where I have already deployed the virtual machines. So you have to select the VNet first. And once you have selected the VNet, you need to select in which subnet you would like to deploy your virtual machine. So if it is just one subnet and you are deploying the one virtual machine, and if access to that virtual machine will get compromised, then the entire resources of your subnet will get compromised, because within the subnet there will be a non-restrictive traffic between the resources. So let me just use this. If you are willing to allow that your virtual machine will be directly accessible from internet, then you have to provision a IP address for it. And if you would like to deploy it into a private way, it means that this is a private virtual machine and it will not have any direct connectivity from internet. Then you can say that okay, you don't need any public IP. Here it comes to create the network security group. So network security group, you can say it's a kind of limited privileged firewall, and you can say either you want to use any network security group or you can choose basic. In advance it will ask you, okay, if you already have a network security group, you can attach the existing one into this virtual machine. So let me say basic, and then again it say, okay, public inbound port, allow selected port from the previous one, and here it says, okay, you are allowing some public port, right? If I will say SSH, it will say you have opened a management port also, and then you have to go and create a virtual machine. So right now I am not going to create a virtual machine because I have already created these two. So you can see that into this virtual machine, I have created two VMs for this demo. This is one VM, that is subnet 1, and the another one is a private VNet. So if you will go to this VNet and go to the overview section, you can see that this particular VNet has a public IP address associated with it. If anyone wants to do a RDP for it, they can easily do a RDP by using this public IP address. If I have a private VNet, if I have a private virtual machine, means the virtual machines which do not have any public IP address, right? It means I am closing one attacking vector, that okay, this virtual machine cannot have directly access from the outside world. Okay, but in certain scenarios you may need to do a RDP for this. So we have some different ways to how we can do this RDP. Let me come and demonstrate that what is uh, the basic rules, security rules that's created by the NSG. So if you will go to the networking section, whenever you create a NSG, means the network security group, by default it creates three rules for inbound and three rules for outbound, right? So you can see the inbound port rule, outbound port rules. Currently this particular NSG is attached to this virtual machine. So one NSG can attach to multiple virtual machines, and it can attach to VNets also. So if you will create, if you will go here, so here you will see that these are the default rules, right? So default rule says like deny for inbound as well as the outbound. And if you would like to, and these are the default rules, so they cannot be either modified or they cannot be deleted. You can just override these rules by creating new rules. And if you are creating a new rule for for overriding any default rule, you should consider that this priority. So in this, the lower the number is, the higher the priority. And here you can create the inbound or the outbound rule. So if you will go and create a inbound security rule, right? So once you will go here, then here you can define the inbound security rule from source to destination, right? So if you can select any IP address, either the any means from you can say just star, any IP address can connect to your virtual machine. IP addresses means you have to specify the range. Then the destination. Now destination is, as I said, NSG can be applied to virtual networks also. If you are saying that you would like to specify this particular NSG rule for a specific virtual machine, then you have to specify the IP address. If you would like to specify it from all, then you have to make it all. If you would say that okay, only this rule is applicable for some specific virtual network and its services, so you have to select the virtual network and you need to select that what kind of service you are looking for. So you can specify whether this rule is applicable for HTTP, RDP, and etc. So select RDP, and the port number 3389 will get selected. Now you can see that okay, this rule is getting created for TCP, right? And you can define whether you are creating this rule for allow or deny. So if you are saying that okay, IP address, this RDP is going to be allowed for any IP address, you have to select allow, and then you have to decide the priority. Lower the number is higher the priority, right? So you see that 65,500 is the highest number, and this is the lowest priority. So this rule will get follow every time, means at the last. If these two rules will not be fulfilled, then this rule, the third one rule is going to apply. So let me create this for say some name like RDP. And then you can define a description for this rule. And once we will create it. So once this rule will be created, now whenever a RDP request will be issued for this specific virtual machine, then this particular rule will come into enforce, and your RDP will be governed, right? So you can use it. Anyone have any doubt or any question for this? Okay. So let me see if this rule is getting created, creating security rule. And okay, so you guys can see that a RDP has been created, and Microsoft has already put a warning sign here that this rule should be taken care in a careful manner. Okay, so if we will move, and same you can do with the outbound security rules also. So if you would like to define any outbound security rule from your virtual machine, or you can say from VNet to the internet, then you can define the outbound security rule into the same way. And here you can see this the network interfaces, like as I said that uh, this NSG either can be applied onto this VNet, as well as it can also apply to this specific virtual machine. And when we said specific virtual machine, it means it can apply to a specific network interface card, right? So here you can say that this particular NSG is attached to this, and it is looks like the associate one. If you will select it, then it will give you, okay, would you like to disassociate it, or you would like to delete it? So you can do the same thing. Okay, so this is something which you can say that you can leverage NSG for your access. So as I said, the network security group. So network security group you can use to limit virtual network traffics, and it can be associated for a subnet or a network interface, right? You can use security rules either to allow or to deny the traffic, and defaults are the inbound and the outbound rules, and they are applicable for the virtual networks and the load balancers. Whenever you are creating a subnet network security group, you have to network security group rule either by for inbound and outbound. You have to specify these parameters. Without having these parameters, you cannot create any NSG rule. Now if you are implementing the NSG, and as I said that NSG can be applied to virtual machines as well as virtual networks, as well as your virtual network can have more than one NSG also, right? So you can see the NSG1 is directly connected in this diagram. NSG1 is directly connected to network interface card of your virtual machine. And the NSG2 is applicable to virtual network. Any rule which is defined in NSG1, that is applicable only for the virtual machine to which this is connected. But the rule defined in NSG2, they are applicable to virtual networks. It means they are applicable to all the virtual machines. You have to make sure that if you are using allow or denied, they should be same in all the respective NSGs. They are whatever NSGs they are coming into the sequence. So if I am saying that, okay, a IP address can access this virtual machine, or this virtual machine can access the IP address, that rule should be opened in both the NSGs. This is the biggest problem which most of the time we used to face, that okay, one NSG is having a deny rule, other NSG has having a allow rule, or sometimes NSG doesn't have the rule itself, right? So Microsoft has already provided a network troubleshooter. You can use that network troubleshooter, and that will give you that, okay, what are the rules which are currently getting invoked, and which NSG these rules belongs. Now we have another thing that is called application security group, right? So application security group is basically used to make the maintenance of this NSGs little bit easy. So ASG is nothing but it's a logical group of the virtual machines. Okay, so virtual machines may be running like web servers. They may have the application servers, right? And when you are creating the NSG, you can say that yes, I would instead of putting the virtual machines, instead of putting the respective virtual machines rule in my NSG, I will use application security group. How it works? So it works like in this way. What happens is, suppose you created you have say 10 virtual machines. They are only used as an application server, right? You have another virtual group of the virtual machines which are used, you can say, for IDP access, right? And there are certain virtual machines which are hosting your databases, and in any case you don't want to expose them to uh, outer world. When you will go and create, so right now we have 448 and 210 11 machines. If I will follow a straightforward NSG approach, I need to create 11 rules for allow or deny. It may be inbound or outbound, both, right? So you can see the permutation combination. To make this job easier, we can create a ASG, that is application security group, and we can name give it a meaningful name. So you can say like this is like application servers. You can create another NSG group. You can say these are the RDP machines, or you can create a ASG group that you can say for you can say like your SQL Server VMs. Now, when you will go and create uh, this rule for inbound, right, or outbound, what you have to do is, instead of selecting the respective target, so destination, you have to select the application security group. Currently I don't have any application security group. So but if you have, you can create, you can select the application security group. So what will happen, all the machines which are the part of a application security group, that rule will get enforced to all those virtual machines immediately. You not need to specify any specific private IP addresses of these virtual machines. Later on, if you are creating a new application server or new database server or new RDP machine, either by removing or deleting, you not need to change your NSG rule. Okay, they will work as it is. You can seamlessly either add a virtual machine to your virtual networks or subnet. But only thing is, whenever you are creating, you have to mark those virtual machines to be the part of ASG. So if you will see here that currently we don't have any application security group here. Okay, this is the virtual machines. You have to only create a application security group and attach it with this. So right now I don't have, and if I will go and create, then that will be listed here. If I would like to create 10 virtual machines, and those 10 virtual machines must have the same rule, I have to do only one thing. I have to go to the virtual machine interface, the individual virtual machine, go to the application security group, and have to attach that application security group to the respective virtual machines. Is this clear? Anyone have any doubt or question? Okay, so we have seen that how we can create network security groups. Now it comes to the virtual network security. Right till now, what you have done the security for your specific virtual machines. When it comes to the perimeter security, like when it comes to the network security or the virtual machine security, So there are the different types of attacks which can get performed over a network, or you can say the virtual network. So Microsoft suggested various ways that by using those you can secure your virtual networks, or as well as you can say the subnets within your virtual networks. So the very common attack which we used to see, that is a DDoS attack, means distributed denial of service attack. And I think everybody knows that what is this DDoS attack, right? And we have seen these DDoS attacks in news also, that various installations have suffered with this DDoS attacks. And sometimes we have seen that, okay, do this, otherwise a DDoS attack will be there. It's like a very famous group is behind all this. Okay, so DDoS attack says that, okay, your workload will not be accessible. It is not like that your workload will not be in workable condition. Your workload will be in workable condition, but it will not be accessible. So you can assume that, like, you are traveling, you are trying to enter in a road which is fully traffic jammed, right? And that traffic jam has been created by uh, some malicious actor or attacker by putting a DDoS attack onto your resources. So DDoS attacks, you can do the DDoS attacks by using the various means. You can create botnets, and you can use various services also to simulate these kind of attacks. To have this, or to prevent DDoS attacks onto the Microsoft network. Okay, before that, okay, what kind of DDoS attacks we have normally? So we have HTTP flood, right? You will see a lot of requests to the endpoint, or you can say the web page URL of your application, and later on you will see that, okay, this web page is not accessible, server is not accessible, or it's taking too much time to serve your request. So when it comes to Microsoft, then how we can prevent the DDoS attack? So Microsoft has already have the DDoS implementation. The only thing is you have to implement the DDoS attack on your virtual networks. You have to implement the DDoS plan onto your virtual network. So I have already created this, because sometimes creating the DDoS plan also takes 5 minutes. Means it depends. So if I will go here and search for the DDoS protection plan. So I already have, oh, where is my DDoS plan? Okay, maybe. Okay, I have created that in different subscriptions. No worries. So let me try to create it. Uh, Again, DDoS comes into basic and the standard, right? Whenever you create a virtual network, you are already protected by using basic DDoS plan. You not If you do not have the requirement of DDoS plan, do not create this DDoS plan. DDoS is a very costlier service. In INR, it will cost you more than 2 lakhs rupees per month, even no matter whether you are using DDoS plan or not. Once it is created, you will get start build. It get built per hour basis. If you are using say 10 minutes or 59 minutes, you will get billed for 1 hour, and it's a huge cost impact. So do not create it. The only difference between the basic and the standard one is that onto the standard, you can define, you can add or remove the various resources, as well as it gives you a good reporting. You can see that from where you are getting the DDoS attacks, which IP addresses, from which geo you are using. So if somebody wants, just let me know on my email address, and I will give you a recorded video for that. That how you can create the DDoS plan, and how you can see the various reports on it. But to save the cost onto this subscription, I will definitely avoid it. Okay, so when it comes to the comparison, you can see like the standard DDoS protections gives you that, okay, it will be guaranteed availability, You will have it's available. It will give you the cost protection. The mitigation policies will also be there. You can define various alerts. You can see the mitigation reports. You can see the mitigation flow logs, as well as you can see the DDoS rapid response support from the vendor side. But if you are using the basic protections, by default basic protection will always be there, right? So you will have only active traffic monitoring and automatic attack mitigations, and you not need to do anything. Vendor will do whatsoever when as soon as they will detect that yes, there is a DDoS attack is happening, they will take care the necessary things to protect your resources. But if you want to have a granular DDoS control for your infrastructure, you must have a DDoS standard plan. So if you will see that how this did, and it is not like that the DDoS can only be used with your virtual networks also, or DDoS can protect your uh, I will say virtual machine only. Whenever you create a DDoS, you have to enable it on your virtual networks, right? So if you will go to here and you will go to this virtual network. So let me go to this VNet. Either you can specify the DDoS during the creation of your VNet and after the creation of the VNet also. Once you will go to this DDoS protection, you can enable or disable it from here. Once you will enable it, it means this virtual network will get start protection through that DDoS standard plan. So right now I don't have anything, so it's not displaying anything, right? So you can apply the DDoS protection plan for the various things, but it is not like that. Only virtual networks can get protected by the DDoS plan. If you will go to the Microsoft Architecture Center, it's not opening. So okay, it's taking too much time to get opened. So yeah, we can move further. It gets hanged. Okay, so yeah, that's not getting opened. Yes, it got opened now. So if you will see that DDoS can be used to protect the various resources. The only thing is, as I said earlier, it depends how you have architectured your workload. So if you want to, if your workload is behind the load balancers, right? So DDoS protection can be used to protect the virtual networks. If you would like to protect your entire applications by DDoS protection plan, yes, you can apply DDoS protection plan there for your entire application that is running within your virtual machines. If you are using a platform as a service web application, right, and you would like to uh, protect those by using the DDoS plan, so you can create a application gateway within a virtual networks, and the virtual networks which has the application gateway, you can deploy, you can enable the DDoS protection plan for that virtual network, right? And you can allow all the backend traffic only through that application gateway. So by having this, you can secure your platform as a service deployment also by using this DDoS plan. If you are having a on-premise and cloud connectivity, or in terms you can say the hybrid connectivity, and you would like to protect this from also the DDoS protection plan, like if you would like to protect your on-premise resources from DDoS attacks, yes, you can use it. The only thing is you have to create a VNet connection between the on-premise and your cloud deployment. So we have DDoS protection plan. We have seen the NSG. What next? We have which we can leverage to secure our workload. So in Microsoft Azure, we have the Bastion control also. The Azure Bastion is something that you can use to have a secure IDP for your virtual machines. Till now, what we have studied is that to get an RDP, you must have a public IP address. Whenever you said that you have a public IP address, it means your workload can get attacked, right, by any malicious actor. To overcome this, Microsoft has another service that is called Azure Bastion, right? And how this Azure Bastion works, so Azure Bastion is a service which you have to deploy in your virtual networks. Means ideally there should be separate Azure Bastion deployment for separate virtual networks. Okay, one Azure Bastion can control the RDP access for all the virtual machines they are running inside your virtual networks. When you are using Azure Bastion, it means you not need to have public IP addresses for those virtual machines. Azure Bastion will provide you a feature in which you can use your browser to do the RDP session with your virtual machines, and it is the most it is I, I will say it is the more secure than directly having the NSG rule and etc. So as I said that separate bastion is needed for separate virtual networks, right? So it is not true always. Suppose you have numbers of virtual networks, then definitely you are not going to create numbers of bastion services. In that case, what you can do is you can deploy a single bastion into a virtual network, right? And you can do the peering of all the virtual machines to this Azure Bastion virtual network. By having this architecture, you can use single Azure Bastion deployment to access your workload in any of the virtual networks, right? And that RDP session will be done in a secure way. The next things which we have Azure Firewall, right? So Microsoft also has Firewall as a service. It is completely a PaaS service which you can use to secure your workload, right? It's a cloud-based network security service. It is integrated with Azure Monitor, so you can see all the necessary logs into in Azure Monitor. It is built for high availability and it protects your Azure virtual network resources, as well as it also support hybrid connectivity and all. Now, why we should prefer firewall over the NSG? So because firewall supports FQDN filtering rules. You can define your network filtering rules into the firewalls. It supports FQDN tags. It supports outbound secure network address translation, and it supports inbound direct network address translation. It has L3 to L7. What is this L3 to L7? This is layer 3 to layer 7 of the OSI model. So it has all the connectivity policies for there. Whenever you deploy a Azure firewall, it always deploy into a separate subnet, right? And it also supports the static public IP address. Creating the firewall takes time. Sometimes I have seen that it takes more than 5 minutes. So I already have created one firewall here. So if you will go to the firewall, once you will go to this firewall, right? And you can see this rules classic and so currently I created this for classic rule because a new interface supports rule as a policies. You can create the policies and you can do a source control also for that. Okay, but for that you must be aware to how to write that rule into that JSON specific policies. So if you will go to the rules classic, right, you can define the various network address translation rules. You can define the network rules. You can define the application rules, right? If you would like to add a net rule, so this is network address translation. You can define for which protocol you would like to define this rule. What is the source type, like IP address or it's a group of IP addresses. You can define the destination address, the destination ports. So you see in NSG, we were not allowed to do this. But here we can define the port. That's why it is called address translation. Okay. So you can say that, okay, any source will do a traffic onto my port number 8080, but that traffic will get transferred to internally to a private virtual machine, or any private resource with having say port number 80 or anything. So this is network address translation. If you will go and create a network rule, so you can create a network rule also. So here you can define the rules for the IP addresses, the protocols, TCP, UDP, ICMP, any. Same, the address translation here, destination ports. If you are looking for service tags based rule, so you can especially define service tags here, right? If you are looking for FQDN rules, you can define your FQDN here. If you are looking for application specific rules, so you can define the application specific rules also. So you can create that, okay, these are the FQDN tags, and the rule will be there, and you can define the target FQDN also. So if you are looking for, just let me know. I have a very step by step hands on tutorial for it, so that anyone, even the person who do not have any knowledge of this firewall, etc., even he can also learn that to create the rules there. And you can see that your IP address means, because it's a firewall, so it needs a public IP address, so it is already associated with a public IP address. If I would like to do a RDP to a virtual machine that is inside a private network, what I need to do is I need to do the RDP onto this public IP address, means firewall. And within that firewall, we will define that, okay, how this is happening, how it is traversing, the traffic will traverse to the respective virtual machine. Okay, so this is the difference between the NSG versus the Azure firewall. So you can see that firewalls almost supports all the rule, but NSG supports only protocol-based filtering, service tags, and integrated with Azure Monitor. NSG doesn't support FQDN, it doesn't support SNET and DNET support, and it does not have supports for the threat intelligence. So for the more secure environment, as using Azure firewall is always preferred. Now, if you would like to implement the firewall, so you have to create a virtual networks. Within the virtual networks, you have to create a uh, subnet and virtual machine. Then you have to create a another separate VNet, and firewall will get deployed into its own subnet, right? And then you have to do a peering between this VNet and the subnet, these two VNets. Only then the traffic will get traversed from firewall subnet to your virtual network subnets, and later on you can use it. So this is, sometimes it is called as hub and spoke network interface deployment. Okay, so another feature that you can use for VPN force tunneling. So VPN force tunneling is something that you can say, okay, that all the traffic that is coming to cloud, that will go through your on-premise network monitoring system. You can do the same in Azure Firewall. It's just a switch, and once you will click onto that switch, you have to specify that which network is used to get connect your on-premise network, and it will be done. The only thing is the necessary rules must be open at each and every endpoint. So this is like hub and spoke technology, hub and spoke topology model. So how it's deployed. So for this sample, you can see that we have two subnets. They have their virtual machines. We have another virtual networks, and within that virtual network, we have the firewall. To get the connectivity between all these subnets, we have to do the peering between the hub net to various spokes net. So this will give you the peering of your inbound connectivity, right? But so all the inbound connectivity means all the inbound traffic will get passed through this Azure firewall to your mm, respective virtual machines running into their subnets in the VNet. But to enable the outbound connectivity through the firewall, you have to use user defined route, right? By default, user defined routes are used to override the system defined routes. Okay, once you will use UDR route, so it means UDR will say that okay, workloads, all the outgoing traffic originating from workload subnet, that will pass through the firewall. And within the firewall, you can define your rules. So for your RDP access or any your web access, like incoming and outgoing both.